if you incorrectly use your deodorant or you overuse your deodorant, that can actually cause you to get cancer because of the aluminum that is inside of the deodorant. So the experiment that they did was pretty much invalid because they didn't have a control group. Yeah. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Mikey J Experience, where we talk about new perspectives, new points of views, and sometimes old and new adventures with me, your host, Mikey J. So let's talk about the fact that your deodorant is giving you cancer. I said what I said. A few months back when I went back home to Ohio, I met up with one of my best friends, and it kind of came out because I was like, hey, if you need to use any of my deodorant, I have it right down there. And the conversation basically went like, well, what's inside of it? And I told him, I don't know, deodorant? No, it's aluminum. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? I mean, whatever. Long story short, he was basically saying that deodorant causes cancer because of the aluminum that's inside of it. And I was like, okay. Especially with everything that's going on nowadays in 2021, taking someone at their word is kind of dangerous because there's a lot of misinformation that's being pushed around. So even though I heard that, I just felt like it was just so, how can I say, not true in my mind. So I really wanted to go ahead and do a little bit of research on it, and the way that I did that was originally I just went on like this super quick Google search, immediately found the first thing that said no. But I really didn't want to go ahead and just kind of leave it at that because, this is something that apparently he feels very strong about. So I really wanted to make sure that I did my research on it, and I definitely did. So make sure to go ahead and take a look down in the description box of the links that I actually found. One of them was from cancer.org, which was a article that was posted by the American Cancer Society. So it's pretty accredited by an actual MD. The reason why I want to do this is because there may or may not be a lot of people out there who think this exact same way, or who might feel like very strongly about this. And trust me, there's a few more than you probably would have expected. So before further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right in and basically talk about why deodorant can give you cancer.
Yeah, get into it!
Before I really get into how deodorant can give you cancer, I really wanted to kind of go back into why we even use deodorant or antiperspirant. So the reason why we use them is because all human bodies, we have two different types of glands, apocrine and the eccrine. Actually, let me double check that.
Eccrine.
Eccrine.
Apocrine.
Alright, yeah, we're good. Alright, so these two sweat glands, they do similar things but not the exact same thing, and they also have different functionalities. So the eccrine sweat gland is the gland that's all over our body, our face, our legs, our arms, and what it does is it produces sweat in order to cool the body off when it's overheated. But the apocrine gland, that does something a little bit different. It's more or less in your pelvic region or in your underarms. And these produce sweat, but there's a difference. The bacteria that's found in these places are actually the bacteria that creates BO or bromhydrosis.
Bromhydrosis.
Yeah, that. The bacteria that is on these parts of the body is trying to break down the sweat that actually creates the smell of BO. And that is the reason why we have BO in these areas. Another interesting thing about this is that these glands don't typically work until puberty hits, which is the reason why the apocrine glands are really not working until around the ages of 9, 10, 11, 12. I also didn't know that there was a difference between what deodorant does and antiperspirants. And now I'm a smart person. I always used deodorant as opposed to antiperspirants, and I didn't realize that antiperspirants is something that I specifically need because I tend to sweat in my underarms. Though it's not bad, I don't smell bad. At least I don't think so. I need antiperspirants because some people, they sweat a little bit more in their pit. Other people do not. So that's why they use deodorant. Now, another interesting thing that I found is that not everyone has those apocrine glands that actually make BO happen. And I know you're probably thinking like, what are you talking about? Everyone has these glands. No, it's actually a gene that some people have and some people do not. East Asian people are the ones who have less of the epicrine glands that work like that. So East Asian people are generally known to not have BO or need to use deodorants or antiperspirants. But that does not mean that every East Asian absolutely does not have this gene. About 80 to 90-ish% they have the gene where they have less epicrine glands, so that means that when they do start to sweat, they don't really produce BO, but some people do. And the only way you can be able to tell is generally through earwax. If you yourself have wet earwax, that means that you have more epicrine glands that will be able to produce BO. If you have dry earwax, you have less epicrine glands that will produce BO, which makes you less susceptible to having BO and sweating a lot more. Okay, so let's move on to why we're talking about this today. How is your deodorant giving you cancer? So apparently, after doing the research that I did, a healthy amount of people actually do believe that your deodorant can cause you breast cancer, or just cancer in general. What many people believe is that if you incorrectly use your deodorant or you overuse your deodorant, that can actually cause you to get cancer because of the aluminum that is inside of the deodorant. So let's get into it. So in a 2003 study, they actually rounded up 813 women who had breast cancer and 793 women who did not have breast cancer to see what correlations there were. So their main goal was to make sure that it wasn't the aluminum that was in the actual products of antiperspirants and inside of the deodorants that caused the cancer. After their research, they found that there was no conclusive evidence that actually showed that the aluminum was causing breast cancer. But in 2003, they did another study with women who had breast cancer. And what the study showed was that women who started shaving earlier also tended to put on deodorant a lot earlier, who also in turn had breast cancer earlier in age than women who did not. So the experiment that they did was pretty much invalid because they didn't have a control group. Yeah. Women who were born in the 60s or the 70s were more likely to use antiperspirants because they would start shaving at an earlier age compared to women who were born in the 40s and the 50s. The reason why is because, well, time. New beauty standards, new trends come up. And basically that's one of the reasons why, just the changing of the way that women upkept themselves. Because of the inconclusive evidence, this specific study was pretty much thrown out and not even really recognized amongst the scientific community. But the problem is that someone found this and ended up sending an email with good intention, of course. And it kind of spread like wildfire. So because of that, it became word of mouth. And even though today it's not really widely spoken about, a lot of people still do believe this myth. The aluminum in antiperspirants and deodorant is not really well known for being able to penetrate the body, which means that even after you shave and you put on deodorant or antiperspirants, it does not seep into the body and eventually get into your breast tissue. And if it does, it's very little and not enough for it to be able to mutate your skin cells or your cells to rush the process of possible cancer. As some people may know, but some people may not know, is that estrogen is actually the hormone that is responsible for breast cancer. They did a study where they found parabens inside of the breast tissue. Between women who had breast cancer and women who did not have breast cancer, they basically didn't find anything that was substantial. Along with that, they found that the estrogen that's in these parabens are nothing compared to the natural estrogen that is running through a woman's body already. So more than likely, the estrogen in the woman's body already is going to be the reason why the breast cancer is so prevalent or why it happened. Now, for the men who might think that they themselves could be able to get this breast cancer, sorry, no. And the reason why is because, well, women are just more susceptible to breast cancer because they have more fatty tissue within their breast region. So the more tissue that a woman has, the more likely it is for them to be able to contract breast cancer. Only men who have genetic disease, who have more estrogen in their body than they are naturally supposed to have, those men are more susceptible and more at risk of having breast cancer than average men who do not have excess amounts of estrogen, because, well, estrogen is more found in women than they are in men. Well, so basically that's pretty much everything I want to talk about today. I just found it very interesting, and the reason why I want to talk about this is because, you know, I feel like a lot of times with everything going on, especially within the past few years of the presidency that we had, a lot of people are not able to be comfortable with reading a lot of articles or news because of the whole fake news fiasco. And I hate that so much, because I even myself have been able to catch myself, you know, being on edge when someone tells me something directly. But a lot of people, they hear these things and they just kind of run with it, as opposed to doing their own extensive research from credible sites or credible sources. I mean, you can definitely go ahead and do your own research and make sure that your research is given substantial evidence by credible witnesses and credible sources and credible people. So, you know, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I want to know, have you heard about this myth before? Have you ever heard that, you know, shaving your underarms and then putting deodorant on or antiperspirant on right after is a cause for cancer? Because I literally have never heard about any of that before. It was my first time hearing about it the past few weeks. Well, if you like this video, make sure to go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Also subscribe, because we have fun over here. And also make sure to hit that notification bell, because I will be making sure to post more videos nowadays, so you can be the first one to see what I do. That would be amazing. I hope you had a great experience, and I will see you in the next video. See ya.